Welcome to the Trying to Be Better podcast with Joel and Steve.
Recording in progress. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Trying to Be Better podcast with Joel and Steve. Steve is laughing, and I love it every time.
Hi.
My name is Joel.
And I'm Steve.
And this is a podcast, and it's a very special podcast. I'm putting on my best NPR voice. This is a special podcast because we have a very special guest who has been with us from the beginning. This particular person gave us our first fan art, continues to loving criticisms from the cheap seats,
and our first monetary gain donation piece.
This individual,
we're on the way.
This individual started the track towards the Lamborghini money.
That's right.
I couldn't be more grateful.
Well, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to get on the show, and bribery will get you everywhere,
all the way to the top.
That's right.
Disgustingly enough. Do we have any other stuff to go over, Steve?
I don't know. I mean, always, but no.
Find us on Instagram, Trying to Be a Better Podcast. Email the show, please, at ttbbpodcast@gmail.com. Venmo us at Joel-Egger or Steve-Erbauer to support our somebody.
Are you Dash or Dot?
I'm Dash, dude.
Okay.
I'm Dash.
I think I'm Dash
somebody also gave, and I was able to conjure some or collab. I don't even know. Conflate. I don't know. Put money together into a digital bag and send it to Steve to contribute to the hosting of this.
Joel,
thing.
you did. Did I acknowledge that? I think I
liked it.
Yeah, I like big thumbs up. Yeah. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you to our contributors to keeping our.
It's kind of like paying child support.
It's exactly like paying child support. You're absolutely right.
I'm sorry.
That's the perfect analogy, Steve. I mean, you got to send it off. You don't know where it goes. You hope it's going to the right place, but it might be going to cigarettes and Diet Coke. You never know.
You never know. Oh boy. Matt, are you still here?
Our guest hasn't left, so we better get to that before he takes off. This particular individual I've known for a while, and I am grateful that he is in my life for a lot of reasons. He's a good dude. He's a good musician. He's a good, just all around community member, and he's a good friend. And I am grateful that he's finally, and he's a great longtime listener of this podcast, and it's an honor to have him on. Will you please give a big TTBB welcome to Matt Martinosky? Welcome, Matt.
Hello, fellas. That was a good welcome, Matt, like an NPR sort of thing. Are we doing, I'm taking over already. Good. Are we like changing the name to this episode of like Trying to Be Better at Hate podcast or anything like that?
Sure.
Yeah. Sure.
Ragging on everything as I do.
Yeah. What would you like to, what would you like to rag on first, Matt? Do you have any qualms with the podcast, past episodes you'd like to take shots
please
at? We'd love to hear your criticisms.
At one point I had this like list of things that I was going to go over with you guys if I ever got on this podcast, and
well, I'm glad we waited.
I don't have that list, so but ironically, I don't know if it's ironic, when you guys started, I was working on a bedroom in my house, and then yesterday I was also working on that same bedroom in my house.
So have we helped you or hindered you from finishing that project?
You're right.
There's some things that have come up that I sit and daydream about what I would say. Negative stuff, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Helped, hindered, both.
We've been with you.
And I've been with you through the whole journey.
I don't know who's more fortunate.
I think we are. I mean,
Yeah,
the fact that Matt consistently listens to something at all, I think is an endorsement that he likes it. Because if you didn't like it, you would have told us to fuck off a long time. Loved us, but said I can't listen to that shit anymore. Right? Is that accurate?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm obviously very vocal in the things that I do not enjoy. We'll get to that later. More on that later.
One of those being John Mayer. I can't wait to get to that. But
I have to admit, I'm a little envious of your T-shirt. For those of you that can't see it, Matt is wearing a black T-shirt with basic block lettering that says Grateful Dead shirt with the skull on it and tie-dye. I love it.
I have 2 Grateful Dead shirts. This one and then another one that this dude in Arizona made that has all these like, it's basically like a black metal shirt with a steal your face like pentagram
nice
situation. So I don't own any actual like, tie-dye or
no marching bears,
dancing bears.
Yeah. That's funny because when I first talked to Steve about the Grateful Dead, when I saw the Steely, I thought it was, because of my conservative Christian upbringing, I just thought that skulls meant Satan, right? So like when I saw the Steal Your Face, I was like, oh, they must be the devil worshiping band. So the pentagram in the Steely is the perfect.
It is
for me.
Yep.
That's funny. The first time I saw Grateful Dead stuff growing up, like listening to punk rock and noise rock, I just thought the Steely was a symbol of being a loser or just garbage music.
And you came around, didn't you?
I did. I had that. If you're in your 40s or older, I'm sure a lot of people went through that like Americana early 2000s, late 90s phase. And I picked up Working Man's Dead, and that kind of changed it for me. I'm in no ways you, Steve. I can't like December 31st, 1972.
Very few people are, and it's fine. I'm like a savant. Or just, obsessed. Right.
Well, speaking of like origin stories, Matt, let's start. Where are you from? Like you're originally from Nebraska, right?
Yeah, I am. First 6 years I was in Greenwood, and then we moved to Waverly as my parents expanded the family.
Mm-hmm.
And then I spent the rest of my time in Greenwood, or spent the rest of my time in Waverly, or kind of like Havelock. That's where my aunt and uncle and cousins lived.
Mm-hmm.
Until my early 20s, and then I moved out to Seattle for a while. And
what year would that have been, or era?
I should know because I did a bunch of coke and created a baby. 2000, 2002, something like that. 2003.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Like I was in like,
I've never done coke, but I didn't know that's, if you did enough coke, you created a baby. I didn't know that's what happened. That's fascinating.
That's how that works, Joel.
Sometimes I'm oblivious to things, and I used to make the joke that my child was a coke baby. And so one day they were like, you know how that sounds, Dad, right? And I was like, oh, I guess I do.
Yeah. So tell me about that transition from why Waverly to Seattle. Like what was it about Waverly and Lincoln that you're like, I'm going to see it? What was that about? Or maybe was it like you're ready to get the hell out of Nebraska? Was that kind of the impetus to move to the Pacific Northwest?
Yeah, I mean, you of all people sitting in front of a Pearl Jam poster should know the allure of Seattle. But yeah, I just growing up. So Waverly was a different place back then. It was actually more of a farming community as opposed to now it's kind of like a South Lincoln community, but not in the South. So I hated it. absolutely hated it. I couldn't get out quick enough. Nebraska was the worst place anyone could ever be. But then, like, coming back years later, I had this obsession with Nebraska now, especially Western Nebraska. I really love it out there, and would take anyone out there at any time, unless I'm broke, or my car's broke, or my motorcycle's broke, or whatever. But I do love it out there. I think everybody should explore Nebraska more. If you think it's just kind of a garbage state, there are cool things. Unless you're not an outdoors person, then probably can't change your opinion there.
Western Nebraska is beautiful. Toadstool Park, and they're up by Fort Robb and the Sandhills and Merritt Reservoir and all that.
I was just recently in Ord for my 25-year class reunion, and we were driving on our way to Boulder to see Dead and Co. And then but the highway had to take us from Ord to like Oglala, so we got to drive through all that, and it was just perfect, gorgeous. And I really have a lot of love for that, being from Ord. That I always tell people when they're driving through on I-80, if you go 45 minutes north or south, you're going to see a very different Nebraska, but the only one they're seeing is this just wasteland a little bit along the interstate.
And the occasional loves.
Right.
Yeah. Or, depending on where you stop for gas, the occasional meth.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you are right. Like, I have a buddy, Ricky, who lives in Kansas City. He builds choppers, and he has a friend in Salt Lake City. So he always comes through Nebraska and talks about how it's the worst chunk of the drive. And having said I love Nebraska, it is a terrible drive. It's a very boring, no scenery sort of situation.
If I'm honest, I mean, I always heard the lore that, like, yeah, the drive in Nebraska is bad, but wait until you get to Iowa or even like eastern Colorado on either side. And I'm like, if I'm honest, I'm like, this is way more interesting to look at than the fucking I-80 in Nebraska,
Yeah.
I-80 in Iowa at least has like hills and those cancer-causing windmill things.
Yeah, that are killing all the birds.
All the birds, yeah.
Oh, man, is that what happened to me?
That's what happened to you,
That's what happened to you, dude. It was all the windmills.
Stop putting those windmills up your ass, Matt. You wouldn't have that. I mean, it was pretty amazing feat that you tried, but that's maybe where that came from.
Very well could be.
So tell us about Seattle. You did a bunch of coke and made a baby, but what was that journey like?
The actual journey.
Yeah, the actual journey and the metaphoric journey, perhaps.
I had this, or still have this 1970 Chevy back when you could C10, back when you could afford gas, and I drove that out there. So that was an experience in and of itself. But I don't know. It was just a weird time. I had been through treatment and went out there and moved in with a couple people who dealt. So obviously didn't go so well. At the same time, a friend of my kid's mother, I guess he's a friend of mine as well, fell off a cliff he was camping, and that sort of changed the trajectory of living in Seattle, especially having just gotten there. And like Heidi the story might get confusing, my life story or whatever we're talking about. There's two Heidis. I've only ever married Heidis. So
you have a type or a name anyway.
But she was gone a lot, so it was real easy to slip back into my old ways. I lived in Wallingford, which is right on the U District, and I would go. There were two bars, the Blue Moon and the Rainbow, and that's where I would go and drink and get my drugs and whatever. And then about the equal distance from my house to those bars, going the opposite direction into the U District, is where Lane Staley lived when he died.
Hmm.
So I like to pretend that we got drugs at the same place, but I know that's not true. That's my like claim to Seattle fame, I
I
guess.
mean, I bet there were probably some crossovers behind the curtain somehow.
I was just in the Wallingford neighborhood district. My sister lives out there. It's a cool neighborhood.
Yeah, I really liked it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I could kind of get to anywhere for
Mhm.
that. But then the whole house moved out, and me and Heidi moved to North Bend, which is in like the Snoqualmie area. It's they have the original cafe where David Lynch shot the pilot for Twin Peaks.
Oh yeah.
And then like the drive that I took to our house was that like iconic Twin Peaks sign, curve in the road, mountains in the background. And being a Twin Peaks nerd, I that it couldn't have been better.
Right.
Did they have damn good
Although
coffee at that cafe?
they did, and pie.
And
And
pie.
pie.
But you know, then you get sober and you realize that it's probably not damn good coffee. It's probably like watered down Folgers or whatever Costco's version of Folgers is.
It's hot.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hot coffee and they keep refilling it.
Yep.
So how long did you live in that part of the world in North Bend?
Um, it was like a year, I think. Um, and we quickly realized that we weren't going to be able to raise a kid up there, just because it is very expensive.
Yeah.
Uh, that's the only place I've ever really lived where it was truly paycheck to paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
I also wasn't doing very well at the time, you know, listening to a lot of Elliott Smith and recording these like I Want to Die songs and drinking a lot of Johnny Walker, which is probably why I lived paycheck to paycheck.
It might
I
have had
hadn't
something to do
hadn't
with it.
I hadn't learned my lesson that you buy like one step above rubbing alcohol. You don't buy expensive stuff.
That's
But then
funny.
there,
Well, I don't know if it's funny or not, but writing "I Want to Die" songs. One of my old friends used to say that whenever he tried to write songs, it always came out like this: "I love you." You were kind of single-minded in the "I Want to Die" endeavor.
me
Yeah,
myself,
yeah. At that
yeah,
time,
yeah. You know, I couldn't get my shit together.
yeah.
I was having a kid. I had no money, so and I wish I could find this. I always just refer to it as like a suicide EP or something, but I think it's just been lost over the years. There was like 6 songs that I recorded during that period in Snoqualmie area.
Mm.
I mean, they're probably awful. I mean, in every sense of the word, like lyrically, uh, musically, recording wise, all of it.
It'd still be amazing to hear that though.
It's yeah, even some of the stuff I've recorded that's embarrassing, it's still kind of neat. Like it just brings you back to like certain things. Like God, what was the is it the Butthole Surfers that song Pepper? Was that
Yeah.
the big
Mm-hmm.
hit? Like
Mm-hmm.
when I hear that song, I can like smell my high school car and like the shitty cigarettes that I smoked back then and my high school girlfriend's perfume, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure maybe I wouldn't want to listen to that Suicide EP if it's going to bring that stuff back.
Yeah, music is I just listen to I have I have this insanely long playlists on Spotify of all favorite, and I just whatever song comes up I throw it in there. So it's like 800 900 songs by now, and Sun Volt's song Windfall came up, and I just like I went snapped exactly back to like smoking Marlboro Lights in my shitty Lincoln Zephyr in 1996, and it was just like music has a way of just snapping you right back to a moment in time.
Absolutely.
So were you always playing like were you playing music in Nebraska before you moved out there? Or when did you start kind of writing and playing?
I guess unofficially, I So I think it was like 11 or 12. I was hanging out with my cousin. We used to skateboard, not roller skate. Uh, I have to clarify that for my
Yeah, we need to know what camp
this
you're in, because those roller skaters were bad folks, man.
Yep. Or I'm just trying to prove how masculine I am too. It's like my equivalent of, I don't know, a truck with balls hanging from it. um, but Pat Clinch,
Mhm.
an old friend, he gave us a dubbed copy of Fugazi's 13 songs. So like the minute that waiting room bass line came in, I was just like, oh man, this is what I want. Because before that, it was all like sunshine, California poppy stuff, like mamas and papas and stuff. So I hadn't been exposed to anything in that vein. So then I wanted to be a bass player. But then I quickly learned that bass players are losers, and I just didn't want to do that. I'm just kidding. Bass players aren't losers. But so a couple years later, I started playing guitar, which I think my parents were a little leery of because I didn't last very long on trumpet. But so my cousin and I started this band called like Wiener Dogs from Mars.
Yes.
That was it was a lot of cover songs. And I have these old cassettes that I recently found that have us. It's awful. It's fun. It's fun to listen to, but it's not good.
Right.
Um, and then I think I was like 14 or 15 when I met a couple like-minded people out at Waverly, and we started this like, I don't even know who you would say influences were. It was like a noise punk band. So all that like Sonic Youth stuff or Nirvana stuff, Pixies, but then also stuff like on SST. So like the Minutemen and Firehose, not to be confused with Firehouse.
Very different.
Very different.
Very, very different. Anything that, and this is why bass players aren't losers, but anything that contained Mike Watt, who I think is fantastic. I absolutely love Mike Watt. But I was in that band. God, we played until we were like 21 or something like that.
Oh wow.
And then I was just kind of over it. But I also started sleeping with our bass player's ex-girlfriend, which kind of messed everything up.
Ooh, yeah.
And then
Fleetwood Mac situation there.
Oh yeah, except we didn't keep going. We just
you didn't fold that into the writing.
No. Then I didn't do anything for a while, and then I picked up an acoustic guitar after that, and my journey into Sad Bastard began.
Nice. And you've perfected that Sad Bastard, Matt. I'm really proud of you.
Hey, thanks.
Even though every time I talk to you, you're like the happiest motherfucker, like the Sad Bastard persona is still intact.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's like that High Fidelity quote where he's like where the movie starts. But there's just something about sad music that is good, regardless of the fact if I'm happy or not. There is other good stuff, and I really want to do something different. And I've been talking to a few buddies, but I just have played like finger picking, quiet, sad bastard shit for so long. It'd be fun to do anything again.
Well, for the record, some of the covers that you posted like on Instagram during the pandemic was some of my favorite music ever. Like you found a way to find humanity in some of the most inane songs. Right? And not all were inane, but I mean like just the way the way that you interpret some of those songs is really beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I when I quit playing guitar and playing any sort of music, I did a deep dive into all that, like Nick Drake, Red House Painters, Mark Kozlik, um, any of those Sad Bastard things that were just quiet, bedtime music.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the I think it's called, I should remember, but Rock and Roll Singer, one of Mark Kozlik's albums. It's Bon Scott era AC/DC covers, but
Wait a
he
minute.
does them.
This is Steve's
right
pleasure center. You just hit it.
I know.
Right. What band was he in? Because Dave Gracie just posted about that guy.
He was in, I'm actually gonna look up if that album is right. He was in the Red House Painters.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
And then
yeah, I need to track that record down because I'm very, very curious.
I really enjoy it.
Is it serious or is it a complete put on?
No, it's serious. I mean, it's his style. It's all of that. Okay. He did a Modest Mouse one too.
Oh wow.
Under the name Sun Kill Moon.
There's something. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. It's What's Next to the Moon, not Rock and Roll Singer.
Oh, that's a great song.
But it's all Bon Scott era. I love it. But that changed my views on cover songs.
Just sort of the deconstruction of those high energy songs into something really soft and quiet.
Yeah. Because I'm real dry mouth right now. Coffee all morning is a terrible idea when you're about to do this.
That's what I'm doing, Matt. It's you're so nervous being on such a high platform podcast. I get it. It happens to all of our
guests. A lot. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
There's a lot at stake here.
Now I don't even know what the question was that we were talking about.
Just the mind-opening experience of that album showing you what could happen to covers, right? That you could take a high energy song and break it down like that and bring out something else from it.
Yeah. And being alone or not having people to do anything louder with, I guess it just became the easiest thing to do, was do these sad covers. And being, so I have a pedal steel that I've owned for like 15 years and never truly learned. But during the pandemic, I did sit down and actually start trying to learn it. But by playing Sad Bastard music, you can just add those little whale noises and stuff. So I did a lot of that. It worked out good for the stuff I was trying to do. But now I'm focusing more on actually playing the pedal steel as opposed to just swells and whatnot.
For my money, it's the most beautiful instrument there is, and one of the most difficult to play.
Yeah, it's ridiculous to play. I do enjoy that, and I could be wrong here, but I feel like it's the one true American music or musical instrument. Like, there's American sounding instruments, but most of them came from different places. And sure. I don't know the history I've never gone down that wormhole, but it just seems like something that would be created by.
So I feel like
it's in the same, it's like that and the guitar, right? I mean, those are two really important pieces.
Well, I was going to say, if you're getting into the pedal steel guitar, that means that you're about ready to, start yourself a bro country band.
Only if Joel will rap. But you and I,
right?
I'm in. I've been waiting. That's this whole setup, dude. That's the only reason I'm friends with you, is that we can make that happen.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Steve, you and I'll.
Can I play bass?
Yes, loser.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, I can play some twangy guitar licks. Since we're gonna do modern bro country. Like you just play a couple, like 2 solos.
I could act the shit out of that. So if you guys put together, like, if we could break down standards into bro country songs.
Oh,
And then
boy.
I could put on, I mean, I could find my character, like a kind of like a Father John Misty, but the bro country version, and totally live in that world. I could fucking do that.
So
I'm in.
this
Let's
is
go.
this is where I know I've told Joel this. I don't know if you've heard this before, Matt, but I saw a quote a number of years ago that said, "Modern country music is just hip hop for people who are afraid of black people."
Oh, it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, I've never heard that. That's kind of like and I don't think Waylon Jennings actually said it, but when he fakely said, or internet said, Garth Brooks has done to country music what pantyhose did to finger banging, or something like that. I mean, it sounds like something an outlaw country singer would say, but
Right.
I don't think he actually. Yeah, I'm sure you could check Snoops or something.
That is that is an intricate analogy that is absolutely right on.
Apropos, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So tell us, I'm going to go back. I put a pin in the Seattle story. Like, you were not in a good way. What did kind of getting your act together, and the fact that you were like trying to not live paycheck to paycheck, bring you back to the Midwest? Like, tell us about that. Because I know you mentioned drug use, substance use. Like, what eventually got you to the world of recovery, if you don't mind my hard shift?
Well, I those who know me know that I rarely talk about my recovery. Actually, I talk about it way too much, probably, or not. Maybe I just tell the war stories. Just knowing we couldn't raise a kid in Seattle, not because of what Seattle was, but just the cost. We moved to St. Louis, or right outside of St. Louis, which was way easier for me to not use, because when you're in Troy, Missouri, you can't really find the things that I was into at the time. So quit using hard drugs, quit drinking at the time. And I did that for quite a while until we moved back to Nebraska. And then I started playing in a band. I started drinking again. And then I got sober after that. So it wasn't, because it takes us all well, not all of us, but it takes a few tries.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just wanting to get my shit together, wanting to be a parent after that whole shock, and am I going to be able to handle this? Am I going to be able to do this? And I never thought I would be in a good place or mature enough, and I'm still not. I think I'm in a good place, but I'm definitely not mature enough. And a few years ago, when I turned 40, I just was thinking about, like, man, I thought my dad really had his shit together, but knowing my dad now and knowing me, maybe he didn't so much. I mean, he had his shit together, but he tells like a lot of, well, no, I guess he doesn't tell jokes similar to me, but there is things similar between us that I don't know where I'm going with this.
I just want to point out, like, you think that you're not matured, or what, don't have your shit together. When I've witnessed you and your kiddo hanging out, and it's like, what's cool is that you just let them be them, and you, and there's no like auspices of, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's really special. I think that, and Steve does that with his kiddos, like the folks that are just let their kids see who they are,
Mm-hmm.
and be silly and goofy and be original and authentic, is pretty cool. And I've seen that with you and E.
Yeah, it's I mean, why wouldn't you? Really? I don't want to sit there and control who someone becomes. My parents were always behind me with that sort of thing. You still have to be a parent, you still have to do
Right.
things, but you can let someone do what they want to do, like think that they're going to be in some world famous noise rock punk band, which is obviously what the public wants. But
Some
yeah,
of the public.
True.
Yeah.
It's very true. But yeah, the only time I worried and I felt like I wasn't going to be supportive. So since E was, I don't know, 6 or so, they've just always talked about being a veterinarian. But there was a brief chunk of time when they were talking about YouTube a lot, and I was just like, oh God, don't tell me you're gonna be an influencer, that's what you want to do. But they never did. I just didn't think I could fully back that one.
Or for the love of God, don't become a podcaster.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be podcasters.
I'm trying to think of when I first met you, Matt, and it seems like it was 20 years ago. Would that be correct? It's 2023, 2003.
Only if we met when I was back visiting.
Oh no, it would have been at one of the places.
Oh no, that would have been actually. So when I finally did get sober, I went through the Independence Center, and that's when Holly was there.
Oh sure, that would be my wife and past guest Holly Erbauer.
Yeah,
and we don't know each other well enough, I don't think, for me to know this, but one of your kids, she had just had one of your kids or was having.
Yeah.
And this was 15 or 16 years ago.
Yep.
So,
that's spot on. Yeah. Okay.
And then I started going to meetings. So that's probably around the time. So 15, well, close to 20, I guess. Yeah.
So you were living in Lincoln when you decided or were nudged into the IC?
I was. For years I thought that like my parents just showed up one morning and took me in, but I guess I drunkenly called them and was like, I need help.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
It's a great way to call the Independence Center, actually.
It was wild. Like working in this field now, it's a lot of times there's waits to get into treatment, all that stuff. And mine was, we went in one day, they did my eval, I went to detox, and then I was in like 3 days later, something like that.
So this may be a hard segue, but I do definitely want to talk about the work that you do. I think we've established that you're bona fides as far as, having been through kind of the ringer. My impression of what you do is that you work with the most vulnerable people in Lincoln and try to connect them with services. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah. Roughly 10 years ago, I was doing the 12-step stuff, and my sponsor at the time talked me into, there's the Independence Center scholarship, so I was going to go in for my LADAC. And then I started working in a treatment center, and it was suggested that I apply for this street outreach position because was it because of the beard? It could have been, absolutely. But so I got into it that way. I quickly realized I did not want to be a counselor, like, and no offense to any counselor or therapist, any of that, but being out with the unsheltered and just having those conversations and getting paid to hang out with people was amazing. And I just couldn't manage, or I couldn't even, I'm doing it. I'm going through the brain fog of things. I just couldn't picture myself sitting in an office all the time.
Yeah.
So is that a large part of what you do, is just go be a presence?
In theory, a large part of what I large part of what I do is sit in an office at a computer.
Ah.
Funny. Yeah, I get that.
Just over the years, like the outreach started with just myself. Then eventually more funding came in and there was another outreach worker. And then I just kept pushing for different things. And eventually 2 years ago, I wrote a grant which expanded the outreach team. So now there's four outreach workers, a part-time outreach nurse, which is Lewis, who's never been on this show, but Sadie, who's been on this show.
Right.
Her husband. And then there's a part-time outreach therapist. So the team's grown a lot since the start of things. But yes, in theory, sorry, I'm drinking too much and then I just get the.
You can let a burp rip on our show.
Yeah,
man.
you're fine.
Totally okay.
It's true. I'm sitting here saying like fuck shit and all that, and I just want to be mindful of my gases. But just expanding things in that money that we got, it still allowed me to do administrative stuff, but still get out and do outreach, which is what I really love. And I think that's what punk rock and being picked on and all of those wonderful things from my past that I experienced, I think that just helped me advocate more. You know, I don't want to take no for an answer, or if you say something can't be done, it's an immediate fuck you, and I want to make that thing happen.
So there's been some recent developments with you and the city and LPD and all of that. I mean, do you feel like can you talk a little bit about that? Because I don't want to miss that. And also, like, is that the culmination of the fuck you? Like, or do you see this thing kind of being a step towards the ultimate fuck you? Or, you know, where are you at with that? Can you talk about what's happened with the mayor and LPD, and then what do you see as the benefit of this, and what's the work still to be done?
So within that expansion, it allowed for me to push for this more, but Officer Melissa Ripley and I have talked about this, a different way of approaching how homelessness is criminalized, just a softer approach. And this was years and years ago. Like, Bleimeister was chief at the time. And the first time I talked to him, it was basically an instant shutdown. Like, this isn't going to happen. We're not doing this. But we continued to work on it, continued to talk to people about it. Michonne Morrow, who's now chief, she joined in when she was still a captain, and we would talk about these co-responder methods like they have in Oregon and Colorado, other places. So that was giving more ideas. And Teresa Ewings came in as chief, and she was on board for a while. We had everything, like program plan, everything written up, and she said no. So obviously I was grumpy because she had pushed for it, but then at the last minute was like, nah, we're not going to do this.
Cool.
Yeah. Her big thing was like a safety concern. Like, she didn't want civilians going out on these dispatched calls. But in my mind, it's like, do you know what I fucking do every single day? This is no different than what the whole outreach team does. So when she left and Morrow took over, I was like, oh man, this is basically happening now. So what it is, I better take another drink before I start all this. You guys can hum or something so there's no dead air. That was great.
Ding.
Melissa and I were very adamant about not wanting a police presence. You can show up with an officer and ruin everything that you've been working on. So we created this model where people call in 911, non-emergency, whatever. And if there's not a lot of them are welfare checks, but if it's not a situation where they're worried about the individual, then they'll send us out. Or if it's not a dangerous situation, they'll send us out. And we just respond by ourselves, do whatever we need to, come back. We document all that for ourselves, but also for just to prove that this method is going to work. And I do think eventually Lincoln might have a co-responder method where therapists or peer support or whoever goes out with LPD, but that is a completely different thing than when you're dealing with unsheltered individuals. Mm-hmm. And we really wanted to, cut back on the criminalization, like cut back on tickets, cut back on jail time, just in general, cut back on any of that sort of thing.
Well, it sounds like what you're talking about is humane treatment.
Absolutely. It's just a much softer way to approach things. Mm-hmm. And so far it's been great. Just connecting with people. There's a lady that there's a lot of calls on her, and her and I have just started joking that I'm her alarm clock, because it's usually her sleeping, and then I show up at whatever 8:00, 7:30, wake her up, make sure she's okay, and then we sit and talk and joke about stuff for a while. But it is great, and it's cool to see whether you appreciate the mayor or not, or whether you appreciate Chief Morrow or not. It has been cool to watch all of us sort of come up, like watching Larian go from city council to mayor, watching Michonne go from a captain to chief. There's other people that I'm forgetting, but there's just this group of us who've all grown. So it was really cool when the mayor did that announcement, just looking at all of us and seeing like, man, we did it, guys.
Is there, I mean, there's one thing to like announce that stuff and kind of support the work you've already been doing. I would hope that this is the police and the city seeing the benefit already, and do they see this as something that can grow and continue? Or I mean, some of that shit politically can just look like a victory lap, right? But is there support for this to expand and continue? And are they seeing the results are they surprised by the results?
There is support within agencies, within LPD, and within the businesses that we've gone out on. Most of them have been very supportive of the idea. Politically, even if you're not like a left-leaning person, if you're more conservative, there's still the other side of things, right? Like we're saving the city money, we're saving all of this shit, but mm-hmm. There's still always going to be like, well, why can't you just go arrest them? And really, if they're not doing something wrong, they're not doing something wrong. There's different laws that deal with, I hate to say it, but homelessness, and if someone's following them, there's no reason to do anything about it. Maybe you think they're not you guys, but maybe you think they're an eyesore or just this huge issue, when it's not really. I mean, it's just people who have, for whatever reason, something's happened to them and they're out on the street. And that's not, there's there's a stigma of everyone who's unsheltered looks like Matt Martinosky, big beard. That's my favorite. There's this unsheltered guy. He can you
a lot of
describe
tattoos.
Can you describe him? And then it's like, yeah, he had a beard and he kind of looked dirty and he was just sitting there. And I was like, well, that's me right now.
He was wearing a DeKalb
guys.
seed hat.
Yeah.
That gives you some credit in some circles.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's no reason. Like, I've been in meetings where some people might be complaining about people being in a park, and then they go on to say something like, parks are meant for everybody, so why are these people here, and why? Yeah, you know where I'm going. It makes no sense.
What it boils down to is it's a real buzzkill.
Yeah, we're trying to have fun on our picnic or our barbecue or whatever.
There's this almost person over there.
Almost person?
I mean, that's hitting the nail on the head. I have heard some of the shittiest things said about humans about the unsheltered. And it's anytime that happens, I think there's a huge education piece that needs to be brought up with everyone, because it's ridiculous to think that way.
Well, it's this idea that being a person who is unsheltered is a crime, and that's just not true, right? Yeah. It's not against the law to be unsheltered.
Well, here's the thing is, I think that there's an idea that if you are unsheltered, that it's your fault.
Yeah,
it's your fault. You have obviously committed some grave error or a series of grave errors, and that may be true due to things like addiction, lack of a support network, desperate people making desperate choices. Like it's very easily to become, I think, for people that are on solid footing financially, that it's very easy to cast that stone and just say, well, they're losers.
Yeah. It's always drinking and drugs.
It's always drinking and drugs.
That's what I hear.
Right.
And it's not the case.
It couldn't be mental illness.
Yeah. Which
could. Yeah.
Who's going? Okay, I'll keep going.
Go.
Yeah, it's and it's not just the people that you see. Like, there are so many people that I've worked with that you would never know that they were unsheltered. I mean, they look just like anyone else. I've worked with people who used to be bankers. I've worked with a college professor. I'll work with you, Joel, because that seems to be the way college professors go.
I mean,
just the one.
Yeah,
but it is. I mean,
it's possible. That's the thing, though. It's like, it's a joke, but like, I'm two situations out of my control away from being unsheltered. Right. And so to marginalize that group and say that they're just the pariahs and the scourge of our community is to deny that that's also us. Like, that's the separation. And I think it's really cool the work that you're doing, because it's important for us to remember that we can't just lift up and build new things and have cool downtowns and build new fucking apartment buildings and say
football stadiums
and football stadiums and tear down Pershing Auditorium and say that, our community is improving without, and then say, but we need to get rid of this community problem. And like,
to me, it's part of that uncomfortableness, is that it's like, well, look at all the great football stadiums we have. But then you see unhoused people, and it's just this mirror of, it's just too much reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's just too much reality. And it's really, really getting in the way of my construct of the way the world is. And that's what the actual problem is. Like, I don't want to have to acknowledge the fact that our society is unjust. That's just, I'm just trying to have a nice afternoon here, and I just don't want to have to deal with this.
Yep.
So if you could just get rid of that externality, that'd be super great.
Everybody wants everything clean and shiny.
Yes.
It's like city included. Like, oh, this building's Pershing. Oh, it's old and it's an eyesore. We got to get rid of it and build some ugly modern building.
A foreign one, another one.
Yeah, with like a fake stone facade, and
right.
It'll need repairs in 10 years or whatever. And I have never gone anywhere. Sorry. I've never been anywhere or listened to anybody who went on a trip and they're like, oh, we found this really great part of town. There was a strip mall, and there were no trees because the new construction tore them all out, and we just had a great time. It's always it's always like the old parts of town, or there's so many trees in St. Louis, but now we're just moving away from unsheltered stuff.
But I think it speaks to the whole idea of that if you want your community to thrive, you have to consider the entire community. And if you're using the police, I'm going to get on a little bent here, but if you're using the police as what they originally started as, is essentially, kidnapped hunters, right, to hunt the kidnapped or the enslaved, and then you're using them as, just crowd control for people that you don't want in your park, then that attitude bleeds out into the way things look and buildings that get torn down, and just like, I don't want to see reality, or I don't want to see history. I just want everything to be squeaky clean. And if the law could just reflect my desires, that would be great. And it's like, that's not the fucking point of a community.
Absolutely not. I mean, everyone should be included. I understand that there's a fear of talking to anyone dealing with mental health issues, but realistically there's no difference from an unsheltered person being downtown yelling about something, like he's in his own reality, or he or she or they or whatever are in their own reality yelling about something, and then you go to a fucking Chick-fil-A and some lady's sandwich is cold, so she starts fucking yelling at someone else. Like, there is no difference there.
Yeah, honestly,
I'd probably be more afraid of that situation than any unsheltered situation.
I totally agree.
It's
I am encouraged, and I guess what is the takeaway for the people that aren't doing that work? Like, how can we lift up, support, help the work that support that response versus the law enforcement response? I know they're kind of the same thing now, but you know what I mean. Like, how can we be better community members to put your team to work, rather than like use the cops as a behavior management tool? Like, what can we do?
Yeah. In terms of the program, just specify, like, they're not necessarily doing anything wrong. I want to make sure they're okay. And then if you are calling dispatch, those will come to us. And that's a huge change, having one outreach worker come out and talk to you, as opposed to 2 officers every time. It's 2 officers coming out on unsheltered calls. Community wise though, it's just treating people like humans, saying hi. Don't do that bullshit where you walk by and ignore someone, or you like put your hands in your pockets and then you like turn them out and you're like, well, sorry, and then just keep walking. If you spent 5 to 10 minutes sitting there with someone, you will experience something that is, I mean, it's devastating. You are nothing. You're an invisible human, until they're at a distance, and then you're just like a dirty problem, But if someone's walking by you, you are completely ignored, and it's just even saying hello is an amazing thing. You're recognizing someone, you're being a part of their day.
In a previous life, I worked at a church, and we would do some support of our downtown neighbors, and I encouraged the youth to think about them as neighbors, not homeless, quote unquote. And I remember sitting down with somebody, and they described that, and I started to believe I was actually invisible because nobody would acknowledge me, and they in a very real way began to wonder if they existed, like not in a metaphoric, poetic way, but in a literal way. And I'm like, well, of course, if you are completely erased or tried to be erased, and then the cops get called on you to erase you, then you start to wonder, am I really here?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yes, it's a very real thing. And going back to how you started that church that you were working at, as an angry recovering Catholic, I often don't say very kind things about churches, but they do still help in any way they can. They've been really good for the downtown unsheltered community.
Good. That's good to hear. I mean, I don't work with them anymore and really don't attend, but I'm thankful to hear that even with the changing of the guard, they still recognize that they are a place of refuge, hopefully, in the downtown area. When most churches decide to move out of downtown and build some airport in the south part of Lincoln,
even I think I don't know if he's right after you left, but whoever took your spot, I believe, he wound up coming to where I work, and he was doing case management for a while.
Nice.
So he got in, was doing things as well. It's cool.
That is cool. We didn't even cover anything else, but we're getting close to like kind of our winding down time. What a honor, Matt, to have you on. I feel like we could talk for another hour.
At least.
Yeah.
Good. Make it like a double platinum episode.
Ooh, yeah.
Double live.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's going on in your life right now? Like, are you making music? How's the health stuff going? I don't know. I mean, that's a lot to shove in at the
I was gonna say
episode.
Yeah. No. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I mean, what the hell? We can make this as a special episode if you have the time and the wherewithal, Matt. Because I mean, I do think that it should be acknowledged that you're doing the work that you do under what could be considered adverse health circumstances.
Yeah. Yes. Health wise. So May 3rd, 2021, I found out I had stage 4 colorectal cancer. So all up in my butthole and in my liver. And that was like the first week was truly awful, just a lot of crying and that sort of thing. But then I started connecting with friends and got out of that, and for the most part have been pretty good with everything. Chemo's no joke. It's fucking awful. But it's, necessary. It helped. Well, it helped, then it didn't help. And then we switched, and then it helped to the point of it was only in my liver. And the last I knew, it was still only in my liver. I have scans on Friday, which are the first scans I've had in months. So we'll see. And normally on all of this stuff, I'm very Well, whatever's there is going to be there. I can't change that. But this time, I don't know if I want to say the first time, but I do have a bunch of anxiety over what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because I dread the idea of doing treatment again. It's awful. And I feel good for once,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
When you say it's just in your liver, I mean, that's good, but the liver's kind of important and you can't, is it like a transplant situation, or what does that look like?
They haven't really said transplant. Like, that has never come out. My liver is just riddled with lesions. So I don't know. There were a few different things that we've talked about, but we went with the Y90 treatment, which they go up through my thigh and they inject these radioactive glass beads. They go to my liver and basically sort of suffocate the blood flow to the lesions.
Wow.
Just to stop growth.
Uh-huh.
However, I was supposed to do 2 treatments of that. And the first one gave me radiation-induced liver disease, which is why I haven't been on any treatments for a while. Like I said, I'll find out more
Friday
in 2 weeks. Well, I get the scans Friday, and then the week after I'll probably know more. But it is, being someone in recovery, and having the past that I've had, there was always those jokes about like, one day my liver's going to kill me. And that's it's a very real possibility now. But, a long time ago, I became okay with whatever the outcome is. Obviously there's one outcome I'd prefer.
Right.
But I hate to say it is what it is, but that's how it is. There's a really good like Willie Nelson clip where he kind of talks about that, which Willie Nelson helped me a lot through all this. He just listening to him talk.
Willie's good for that.
Yes, he is. I mean, he has 100 years of knowledge, or whatever.
Wisdom.
Yes, there have been a ton of great supports, though. It was extremely humbling when I pushed back really hard on any financial help. But then someone started to GoFundMe, and within like 3 days, it was at 20,000, and that allowed me to afford to live for 2 years. That's all gone now. But it's still, that outpouring is, I don't like this direction where we're going when I'm talking about myself, but it shows me like the difference I've made and the effect I've had on people's lives. Even the unsheltered people I work with, they'll ask how I'm doing, how cancer is, how treatment is. It's incredibly humbling to know all that.
Well, man, it's incredibly humbling to know you.
Yeah.
I mean, really, we're not super tight or anything like that, but we've known each other for a long time. And, I've followed your trajectory and the work that you do. And, and just going on that Johnny Cake ride with you was fantastic. And like, that's such a cool thing, talk about like packing things into the stream of life. You're kind of the embodiment of that. And so, I tip my hat to you, but I got headphones on and I just don't want to mess things up. But it's just a thrill and an honor to get to talk with you and know that I know you know this. I don't need to blow smoke up your ass, but like people love you, and
which just it's kind of weird to me. I mean,
yes. Hey, I get that. I get it.
Well, I mean, Yes, I genuinely care. It's not that I hate people. I use hate a lot, but it's not necessarily hate. But what society has done to people. So I am very much like the grumpy old man who yells at the sky. But because of my personality, my I not this personality that we're experiencing now, but the other version, it kind of blows my mind that when people say nice things.
Well, that's the thing.
I'll never
go ahead, Joel. I was going to say that. God damn it!
Well, I love that because we can like, no, go ahead, and then we both start.
Mine is quick. Like that's what grace is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Joel, go.
Absolutely.
I was going to say the Ben Harper song "Roses from My Friends" came into my head when that time, like, because the lyric is, the stones from my enemies, these wounds will mend, but I cannot survive the roses of my friends from my friends. And I'll never forget you showing up of my house, like still COVID restriction distance. And we stood outside and you told me you had cancer. And I was like, I always had love for you. And I thought you were almost too cool for school. I was like, and you came and you talked to me and you told me face to face that you were sick. And I was like, I was humbled that I was in that group of people that you wanted to know. And it just lit a fire in me for you. And I think that just goes to show that like we need to, and you were an example to me of like, let the people that you love and respect know that you love and respect them, because our time here is fleeting. None of us gets out of here alive. We're all going to die of something. And if you don't express that and try to kind of grasp onto that, however you can, whether you have cancer or not, then you're missing some real juice of life. And then that was just a real moment where I was like, holy shit, I love Matt. And he wanted me to know this, make the most of whatever is going on, because and that hit at a time too, where I felt more afraid of people than I ever did. And that was a huge moment. So I am honored to have been in that group. And I remember I was telling Kirsten, I was like, I don't know why he told me that, like, I holy shit. Like, and it just meant a lot that you told me you had ass cancer, Matt.
Any chance to talk about my ass.
That's what it was about.
but you are right. I mean, everyone's going to die. There's no way around that. That's going to happen. Yeah. Like, I almost feel like I'm quoting Willie right now. Like, you could die tomorrow. I could die tomorrow. The difference for me is like, I have a punched ticket. It's not one way. Well, it is one way since we all die. Yeah. But you guys, as far as I know, you're on a one-way flight where this probably isn't going to go right. Whereas I had that ticket punched. Maybe I have a layover in hospice and then I go or whatever. What I'm saying is I know what could get me, as opposed to just the surprise of it all, like that gift of what's going to happen.
And that is, and I see it, and maybe I'm wrong, but what I see, Matt, is that you have the recognition of that and the acceptance of that has allowed you to kind of see things clearer. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's something beautiful and wonderful about all of us really embracing and accepting that inevitability that allows us to enjoy something just a hair more, or be a little more kind to another person, or enjoy a bike ride with a little more gusto, or pet our dog with a little more love. I mean, that's the juiciness of life, and it only comes when we're not ignoring the reality.
Yeah. I mean, full on enjoy everything. There's no reason not to. I had some grumpy periods where you find out you have cancer, people find out you have cancer, and then everyone's there, right? More so than you've ever experienced. And then people start disappearing. So I had a lot of anger over that. It was, you say you're fucking here for me and you're not here for me. But the reality is you're just, all this outpouring of support is dumped on you, and then it does ebb and flow. So you kind of feel like you've been left, like you kind of feel like you've been abandoned. But really that's not the case. But I could also have reached out to people as well. So the anger is diminished, and the depression has diminished. I know I said I'm okay with it, but then when you sit there and you feel alone, it's obviously going to bum you out. Yeah.
My friend and past guest, Seth Monaquello, that passed away from brain cancer last summer, his oldest daughter, as a way of dealing, because they dealt with that. I mean, Seth had type 4 glioblastoma, which is pretty fast acting. And he lived longer than 90% of people with that live. So long enough to see that, what you just described, like there's the initial outpouring, and then it just kind of tapers off. And so his oldest daughter started a foundation called Fuel for the Fight that helps families dealing with long-term illness. It picks up kind of after the first year. To kind
That's
of
cool.
Yeah, I mean, what a way for a teenager to channel grief, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, she saw a need and started this deal, and I'm not sure how active it is, because she's a busy person, but I mean, like, she and a friend they met in a support group because their parents were sick, so they started this thing. And I just thought, that's find the need and fill it. I just thought, what an incredibly cool thing, because that's real. And I was guilty of that with Seth. We get busy, and really, once the treatments kick in and everything's kind of stabilized, and it's just back to regular life.
Yep.
And then when it became obvious that we were kind of getting towards the end, then people started rallying back around the family again. So it's like that sort of sickness it's just hard.
Yeah.
It's just hard. And there's no way around it but through it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. A foundation is much better. One of the higher ups where I work, we've joked that, because funerals and all of that are for people, and I don't know that I would want one if I were to go now. But she always jokes that they would create like a golden tribute toilet to go with my ass cancer. Well, it started as a tribute, like porta potty, but the toilet thing is pretty good.
A golden bidet.
There you go.
Golden bidet.
I think a dark sense of humor is kind of critical to getting through tough times.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I'm Gen X, so I don't know anything else. Just like dark humor and sarcasm. That's
right.
Isn't that how we live?
Yes.
It's the blood in our veins.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
I would put a good chunk of change on a golden bidet for Matt's ass cancer.
That's right. I
mean, we should get that together so you can use it before you go. I mean, fuck it. You may live to be 86, dude, but you deserve a gold shitter more than Trump does. Let's be honest.
100%.
Man, I just kind of laughed like you, Steve.
You might be able to get one of those Trump gold shitters at a discount here in the not too distant future.
Fire sale.
Very, very true. I feel like those would be extremely cold to sit on, though.
Yeah, well,
maybe it's no different.
Warmers, just put like a block heater around it.
Dude, gold like fucking melts pretty quickly, right? Like you don't.
Oh yeah, you don't want it too hot.
That out.
Well, okay, that's a puzzle for another podcast.
Yeah, we need to get a scientist on to figure out how to make that golden shitter, but warm it. Have a warmer. And that the water can be the water temperature that blows into your asshole needs to have, you know what I mean? Is there flavored bidets? That's what I want. Like, can you get a scent?
I mean, I wish there were flavored bidets, because when I first hooked mine up and turned it on, it just blasted me in the face as I was like trying to figure it out.
You're supposed to sit on it, Matt. It's not a drinking fountain, dude.
I wanted to make sure it worked. I didn't realize the knob was like 0 to 1,000.
It's like a fire hose. Just open it up, baby.
And I had never used one, and then I wound up sitting down and trying it, and straight into my asshole, like first shot. And I came out of the bathroom and I was like, I don't know if I can do this, Heidi. That was a strange thing. And now I hate it if there's not one around.
That's like, yeah, man, you can get those, aftermarket like attachments, right? And just,
this just came up. Actually, this is timely and relevant. There has to be an electrical outlet by your toilet.
Oh yeah.
There isn't an electrical outlet by your toilet, then you're kind of shit out of luck, or you're running an extension cord, and that could be unsightly.
Very, very true.
Yeah. My shitting office is very near where I'm sitting, and the plug is on the other side, like the wall. You know what I mean? Like it would have to be. We got to figure this out.
Clearly,
you own a home. Just do whatever you want.
That's true.
Kick a hole through the wall and run it.
Owns a home
with
with another person that may need to sign off on the modification.
That's very true.
I'll hire somebody to do that.
We're like
sign off on the modification.
No, do the work. I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
I'm not that guy, Steve. What do you love, Matt? Like, what are your music top? What's your music Mount Rushmore? Like, what are your top 3 or 4 all-time musicians, artists?
Well, first off, we're really doing this, huh? We're just going and going.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a fucking podcast. We can do whatever we want.
It's our podcast. Yeah, don't.
It's very true. That's one of those, I've thought about this for years, because things can ebb and flow depending on your mood or any of that. Things that have always been a part of my musical taste are Tom Waits, Nick Cave, who I get to go see in another month, which I went and saw him in Brooklyn with my best friend Ethan like a year ago and just bawled my eyes out. I just love Nick Cave. Nick Drake, he's always, 3 albums and dead, and I feel like what he accomplished is just also beautiful. And then Willie Nelson has always been a huge thing. Like my first musical memory is before those little rat bastard brothers of mine came along. We were on a family trip. Yeah, we're on this family trip, and it's my dad driving his truck, my mom's on the other side, and I'm in the middle. And On the Road Again comes on this cassette, like Willie Nelson's greatest hits or something. And I sat there like looking at the cassette, and I would make my parents play that song over and over and over. So he's always been in heavy rotation. But Sonic Youth is a huge one for me too. And it's a weird thing, like going back previously to talking about Mark Kozlik, and then now Sonic Youth. The guitarists that have had an influence on me, so Thurston Moore and Lee Ronaldo from Sonic Youth, and then Nick Drake, Mark Kozlik. That whole thing about never meet your heroes is pretty true. Like, Mark Kozlik is a fucking dick.
Yeah,
he is a shitty person.
Oh shit.
Thurston Moore, I met him at South by Southwest one year when I was down there with Head of Femur, and he was fine, but he didn't really talk much. But then I went to a Lee Ronaldo solo show in Chicago, and that dude was one of the nicest dudes I've ever met. Like he talked to me. He was like, "You drove here from Nebraska," and we talked about all that. We talked about Nebraska, and he is just an extremely wonderful person.
That's Head of Femur is one of my favorite local LPs.
Oh, they're so good.
I love that record. I know
they are.
I know Ben just a little bit, and he's a super swell dude. And he's playing drums with Ezra tonight, opening for Guar, actually, which is kind of far out.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. That record's just beautiful.
Yep. The all of those dudes are great. That tour was a lot of fun. There's still things I think about fondly from that tour.
Wait, did you play it? Were you playing in Head of Femur?
I didn't start out that way. I went as kind of like a merch van driving situation.
Yeah. Important
but then
position.
By the end of the tour, I was doing percussion stuff.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's cool. Ben said they're doing another thing. I just saw him recently. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope they are.
I listened to I think probably their first record, and I had no idea they were local. And I thought that was the fucking coolest thing in the world. And then I'm like, these guys are from Lincoln.
Yeah.
Like it was really like space and time shifting for me when somebody's like, yeah, they're from here. I know. And I was like, wait, what? Because I was listening to them as if they were some, cool indie band from New York or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were living in Chicago at the time, but they were all from here.
Right.
Yes. And they were all from like amazing bands in the past.
Yeah.
So yeah, those guys are great.
So those are your bona fides. Those are your Mount Rushmore. What's one surprising musical guilty pleasure right now?
Right now in this moment.
Right now.
That fucking new Doja Cat song. I can't even think of the name of it, but that shit is. How do I?
I'm looking it up right now. That was not what I expected you to say.
Yeah, I'm sure most people wouldn't. It's I can't think of what it's called.
Paint the Town Red?
Yeah. Okay. And it's just, like a poppy song, but I either like really weird shit or real poppy.
That's real though. I think as having tween daughters, like I hear some pop stuff, and like I've never like if it's a good pop song, then it's good. Even if it's a pop song, don't care.
Oh, right.
Yeah, bring it. Joel and his love for Kesha comes to mind.
I love Kesha. No fucking dude. I love Kesha from the very beginning when she was talking about brushing her teeth with Jack Daniels to her most recent stuff that's like post, fucking sexual assault by her producer fucking shit. Like her song, Him. Mad love for Kesha. Mad love.
This is a little bit of an aside, but speaking of pop stars, like I just watched the Bradley Cooper Lady Gaga Star is Born a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was great. Lady Gaga killed it. She was awesome.
She was amazing.
She was great.
I have yet to see it, honestly.
It's good. I don't know if it's amazing, like top 10 ever, but Bradley Cooper was great and Lady Gaga was amazing. Like she can act.
Yeah.
On top of being able to sing. And it was a very human performance. I thought it was just fantastic. Like my respect for her way up there.
Yeah, it's really good. I think it would have been even more mind-blowing if it was like that was the first iteration of that. You know what I mean? Like but because they had a lot to kind of improve on, I guess, from that movie, but it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, really dug it.
Yeah, it's still on my list, but that list.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those things. I was just kind of scrolling through the whatever inner TV webs, and I thought, okay, we'll do this tonight, and I'm very glad that I did.
Maybe I
had middling expectations, and it was just very much time well spent. So
Cool.
Anyway, Matt, speaking of time well spent, thank you so much for taking the time to hop on the Trying to Be Better podcast. I feel like it's been, a long time coming, and we certainly appreciate you being amongst our dozens of fans.
Yeah, man, it's a real honor. I think you might have hit the longest conversation, which I'm grateful for. So
yeah. No, I really appreciate you guys having me on. And we didn't even get to the Muppets or the fucking shitty ass John Mayer.
Yeah, that guy sucks. The Muppets, on the other hand, do not.
The Muppets don't suck. John Mayer is a pop genius. So
shots fired.
Let's see. We'll talk about this later.
Cool.
Well, all right. You are welcome back anytime, Matt, to continue on this conversation, man. And if there's updates or interesting things that we need to know about with the work you're doing with the unhoused, or if you want to come back and rag on Mayer, I'm happy to do that.
I mean, I could spend half an episode ragging on Mayer and half an episode praising Jim Henson. So
I love it. I'm in. I'm here for it.
That's the content we're looking for. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Although everybody's probably listening and they're like, Jesus Christ, another hour and a half.
You might be surprised. I think our numbers are going to be high for this one.
Yeah.
People love you. We love you. And thank you for taking the time, dude.
Yep.
Yeah. Love you guys. It was fun.
Later. Yeah.
Later.
Bye.
Fall down.
Don't forget, toot your hooter.